My parents and I grew up out here in Oakville, South County area. And as you know, many times a week I would drive up and down Telegraph, and I would notice this church. I didn't know the name of it, didn't know anybody who went here, didn't even see the sign, you know. There's a saying, like, you stick out like a sore thumb. Well, to me, this church in my life stuck out like a sore thumb, you know, but in a good way, you know. In my life, I had been in and out of prison, doing the same old, you know, and doing nothing different for my life. Well, in 2015, I was in Northeast Correctional Center in Bowling Green, Missouri, and I was going through some troubles. I had just received a 12-year sentence. I have a friend who lives in Colorado, Kurt Weaver, and he's a very, very huge mentor in my life. I've known him, you know, since I was 12, and I'm 47 now. And he's a very deep Christian and just one of the greatest advisors and mentors I've ever had. I woke up one morning and I said, Kurt, I called him on the phone, I need to find a church. I need a church, you know. And he's like, well, okay. I was like, you need to find me a church. He's like, Johnny, I'm in Colorado, Denver. How am I gonna find you a church? I just don't have connections like that in St. Louis. And besides that, you know, that's something that you have to do. And the first thing that came to my mind was this church. So I had called my mom, who lives right down the street. And I said, Mom, I said, what's the name of that church who kind of in between Walgreens and Phillips? And she said, I think it's Faith. So I hung up with her. I called my buddy Kurt. And I said, Kurt, it's Faith, you know. So he looked it up on Google or whatever, and he gave me the address. Well, I sat in my room, my prison cell one night, and wrote about a 4 maybe page letter. I'm sure Pastor Chris has it still, but it was a very deep letter, and it started off, I remember, and this was 8 years ago when I wrote this, but I still remember what I started writing with. Please don't judge me on my past, but only judge me on the future and what I'm trying to build for myself. And then lo and behold, like 2 weeks later, I get a letter from Faith, from Pastor Chris Summers, you know. And he said that he thanked me and enjoyed my, you know, my life story, and, you know, and that he would like to come visit me. And so, you know, I set him up a visiting voucher. He got on my visiting list. And like he said, man, he was up there about 3 weeks later. Well, he sat there and listened to me for 2 hours, you know, and it was great to talk to somebody that I knew in his heart there was no bias. And what kept on flashing back to me was that for 15 years, I knew this was my church, because this church stuck out to me. There's a dozen churches in the surrounding area, but none of them stick out. Faith Lutheran has always stuck out to me, and when I let God know when I was ready, and God gave me Faith Lutheran when I was ready. When I got out of prison and I drove, my friend Kurt came and picked me up, and we drove. The first place I came to was Faith. And when I got here, I was welcomed. There was a giant sign that says, "Welcome, Johnny." In the prior releases from incarceration, I've never been welcomed anywhere. There was never a sign that says, "Welcome, Johnny." And for the first time in my life, I showed up somewhere where I was welcomed. And that cleared my mind, because sometimes in my mind, it's like, you know, I'm accepted while I'm gone, but will I be accepted when I'm there? You know, and I think about what this place has done for me, and really, when it's done for me, it put a smile on my face. It's put a love in my life. It's put, you know, it's grounded me. Like, I have a home base. And I'm not talking about my mom's house or where I live or anything else. I feel that Faith Lutheran is my home base, because this is where I can go and feel connected to God. And truthfully, Faith Lutheran has accepted me by the will and the grace of God, that he has put me in the absolute greatest place for me to be in my life.